Hello Norfolk and Nottinghamshire class, welcome back to today's Destination Reader, the BFG by Roald Dahl. This is the 14th lesson of 20 lessons. Okay, so our keywords are going to be in red. These are important words that I want you to really think about. Any questions for you to answer will be written in blue, and some writing time will be written in green. Okay, I want you to check. Have you got a copy of the story? Have you got a copy of the strategy prompt sheet? And have you got a pen or pencil and your piece of paper or your home learning book? Well done if you have all those things together. If you don't, press pause and go and collect everything and then press play and continue. Press pause now. Okay, the BFG by Roald Dahl. We're going to continue with strategy number 3, Inference. And I want you to tell me, what does inference mean? What plus what equals an inference? And why do good readers make inferences? I want you to have a little think, say your answer out loud, then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. What plus what equals an inference? Why do good readers make inferences? Press pause now. Okay, so we're all really good at this by now. So what plus what equals an inference? You should have told me that text clues plus your background knowledge or your schema equals an inference. And good readers make inferences because it helps them to understand the text better. Okay, so vocabulary for today. My turn, helpless, your turn. My turn, helpless, your turn. And if you are helpless, you are unable to defend yourself or act without help. And if you have a look at that word helpless, the root word is help and the suffix is less. So it means that you're unable to do something and that means you're unable to act without help. Helpless. My turn, lonesome, your turn. My turn, lonesome, your turn. And if you are feeling lonesome, it means you're all alone, you're deserted, you're abandoned. You're feeling very lonely. You are lonesome. My turn, convince, your turn. My turn, convince, your turn. So convince, if you're convincing somebody, you're persuading them to do something. You're trying to convince them. Convince. Okay, so we're going to still have a look at 1 mark and 2 mark answers. And let's remind ourselves of our little rhyme or our little rap that goes with this. And we say, 1 mark questions need a short, snappy answer. Your turn. My turn. 1 mark questions need a short, snappy answer. Your turn. Great. Okay, 2 mark questions need a PE answer. My turn. 2 mark questions need a PE answer. Your turn. My turn. 2 mark questions need a PE answer. Your turn. Great, and that's your point and your evidence. So I'd like us all to go to page 107 in our books, and the title is The Great Plan. And if you remember from yesterday's reading, Sophie was really upset because the giants, the 9 giants, were off to England to try and eat up English chidlers, and she was really concerned about this and she wanted them to stop. So this chapter is called The Great Plan. So I wonder what Sophie and the BFG are going to plan, hopefully something to try and stop those horrid giants. I'm going to read to you and I want you to follow along, and we're going to stop at points to ask questions along the way. Page 107. We've absolutely got to stop them, Sophie cried. Put me back in your pocket quick and we'll chase after them and warn everyone in England they're coming. Rinunculous and impossible, the BFG said. They is going 2 times as fast as me, and they is finishing their guzzle before we is halfway. But we can't just sit here and doing nothing. Sophie cried, how many girls and boys are they going to eat tonight? Many, the BFG said. The flush lump-eating giant alone is the most squeckling whoopsie appetite. Will he snatch them out of their beds while they're sleeping? Like peas out of a puddle, the BFG cried. I can't bear to think of it, Sophie cried. Then don't, the BFG said. For years and years I is sitting here on this very rock every night after night when they is galloping away, and I is feeling so sad for all them human beings they are going to gobble up. But I is at to get used to it. There is nothing I can do. If I wasn't a titchy little rundy giant, only 24 feet high, then I would be stopping them, but that is absolutely out of the window. Do you always know where they're going? Sophie asked. Always, the BFG said. Every night they is yelling at me as they go bootling past. The other day they was yelling, "Where's off to Mississippi and Missouri to guzzle them both." Disgusting, Sophie said. I hate them. She and the big friendly giant sat quietly side by side in the blue rock in the gathering dusk. Sophie had never felt so helpless in her life. After a while she stood up and cried out, I can't stand it. Just think of those poor girls and boys who are going to be eaten alive in a few hours' time. We can't just sit here and do nothing. We've got to go after those brutes. No, the BFG said. We must, Sophie cried. Why won't you go? The BFG sighed and shook his head firmly. I has told you 5 or 6 times, he said, that the third will be the last. I is never showing myself to human beings. And we're going to stop there. And I've asked a question. I've said, why doesn't the BFG want to show himself to humans? And this is a 1-mark question. Have a listen while I think aloud. And I've said that the BFG doesn't want to show himself to humans because he's afraid that they will put him in a zoo. And he was really worried about this. Okay, I want you to have a turn. Why do you think the BFG doesn't want to show himself to humans? Have a little think. Say your answer out loud. Then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. Then press play and continue. Why doesn't the BFG want to show himself to humans? Press pause now. Okay, great. You're back. Let's continue reading. Why ever not? If I do, they will be putting me in a zoo with all the chicory rafts and caterpillars. Nonsense, Sophie said, and they will be sending you straight back to an orphanage. The BFG went on. Growing up human beings is not famous for their kindness. They is all squiffle rotters and grink sludges. That simply isn't true, Sophie cried angrily. Some of them are very kind indeed. Oh, the BFG said. Name one. The Queen of England. Sophie said. You can't call her a squiffle rotter or a grink sludger. Well, the BFG said. You can't call her a squeak pip or a knot mucher either, Sophie said, getting angrier and angrier. The flesh lump eater is longing dearly to guzzle her up, the BFG said, smiling a little now. Who? The Queen? Sophie cried aghast. Yes, the BFG said. Flesh lump eater says he is never eating a queen, and he thinks perhaps she has a specially scrumdiddlyumptious flavour. How dare he? Sophie cried. But Flesh lump eater says there is too many soldiers around her palace, and he dursn't try it. He'd better not, Sophie said. He is also saying he would like very much to guzzle one of the soldiers in his pretty red suit, but he is worried about those big black ferriettes that they is wearing. He thinks they might be sticking in his throat. I hope he chokes, Sophie said. Flesh lump eater is a very careful giant, the BFG said. Sophie was silent for a few moments. Then, suddenly, in a voice filled with excitement, she cried out, I've got it! By golly, I think I've got it! Got what? Asked the BFG. The answer, cried Sophie. We'll go to the Queen. It's a terrific idea. If I went and told the Queen about those disgusting man-eating giants, I'm sure she'd do something about it. The BFG looked down at her sadly and shook his head. She is never believing you, he said. Never in a month of Mondays. I think she would. I'm going to stop there. I've got a question for you. Why does Sophie suggest warning the Queen about the giants? It's a 1-mark question. I want you to have a little think, then say your answer out loud, and then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. Why does Sophie suggest warning the Queen about the giants? Press pause now. Okay, you're back, and let's have a look and see what I wrote. I said, I think the BFG, I haven't read this properly, have I? I haven't edited it. It should say, I think that Sophie suggests warning the Queen because the Queen is powerful and she might be able to get her guards to stop the giants. Is that similar to what you put? Okay, great. Let's keep reading. We're on page 110. Never, the BFG said. It's sounding like a wonky tall story. The Queen will be laughing and saying, what awful rub squash. She would not. Of course she would, the BFG said. I has told you before that human beings is simply not believing in giants. Then it's up to us to find a way of making her believe in them, Sophie said. And how is you getting in to see the Queen anyway? The BFG asked. Now hold on a sec, Sophie said. Just you hold on a sec, because I've got another idea. Your ideas is full of codswaddle, the BFG said. Not this one, Sophie said. You say that if we tell the Queen, she would never believe us. I is certain she wouldn't, the BFG said. But we aren't going to tell her, Sophie said excitedly. We don't have to tell her. We'll make her dream it. That is an even more froth-bungling suggestion, the BFG said. Dreams is lots of fun, but nobody's believing in dreams either. You is only believing in a dream while you is actually dreaming it. But as soon as you was waking up, you was saying, oh, thank goodness it was only a dream. Don't you worry about that part of it, Sophie said. I can fix that. Never can you fix it, the BFG said. I can, I swear I can. But first of all, let me ask you a very important question. Here it is. Can you make a person dream absolutely anything in the world? Anything you like, the BFG said proudly. If I said I wanted to dream that I was flying in a bathtub with silver wings, could you make me dream it? I could, the BFG said. But how? Sophie said. You obviously don't have exactly that dream in your collection. I do not, the BFG said, but I could soon be mixing it up. How could you mix it up? It is a little bit like mixing a cake, the BFG said. If you is putting the right amounts of all the different things into it, you is making the cake come out any way you want. Sugary, spongy, curranty, Christmassy, or grob switchy, it is the same with dreams. Go on, Sophie said. I has dillions of dreams on my shelves, right or left. Right, Sophie said. I has dreams about bathtubs, lots of them. I has dreams about silver wings. I has dreams about flying. So all I has to do is mix those dreams together in the proper way, and I is very quickly making a dream where you is flying in a bathtub with silver wings. I see what you mean, Sophie said, but I didn't know you could mix one dream with another. Dreams like being mixed, the BFG answered. They is getting all very lonesome by themselves in those glassy bottles. Right, Sophie said. Now then, do you have any dreams about the Queen of... Do you have any dreams about the Queen of England? Lots of them, the BFG said. And about giants? Of course, the BFG said. And about giants eating people? Swiggles of them, the BFG said. And about little girls like me? Those is the commonest of all, the BFG said. I has bottles and bottles of dreams about little girls. And you could mix them all up just as I want you to? Sophie asked, getting more and more excited. Of course, the BFG said, but how is this helping us? I think you is barking up the wrong dog. Now, hold on, Sophie said. Listen carefully. I want you to mix a dream which you will blow into the Queen of England's bedroom when she is asleep. And this is how it will go. Now, hang on a minute, the BFG said. How was I possibly going to get near enough to the Queen of England's bedroom to blow in my dream? You is talking dumb silly. I'll tell you that later, Sophie said. For the moment, please listen carefully. Here is my dream I want you to mix. Are you paying attention? Very close, said the BFG. Very close, the BFG said. I want the Queen to dream that 9 disgusting giants, each one about 50 feet tall, are galloping to England in the night. She must dream their names as well. What are their names? Flesh lump eater, the BFG said. Man hugger, bone cruncher, child chewer, meat dripper, gizzard gulper, maid mesher, blood bottler, and the butcher boy. Let her dream all those names, Sophie said, and let her dream that they will be creeping into England in the depths of the witching hour and snatching little boys and girls from their beds. Let her dream that they will be reaching into the bedroom windows and pulling the little boys and girls out of their beds, and then, Sophie paused. Do they eat them on the spot or do they carry them away first, she asked. They is usually just popping them straight into their mouths like popcorn, the BFG said. Put that in the dream, Sophie said, and then the dream must say that when their tummies are full, they will go galloping back to giant country where no one can find them. Is that all? The BFG said. Certainly not, Sophie said. You must then explain to the Queen in her dream that there is a big friendly giant who can tell her where all those beasts are living, so that she can send her soldiers and her armies to capture them once and for all. And now let her dream one last and very important thing. Let her dream that there is a little girl called Sophie sitting on her windowsill who will tell her where the big friendly giant is hiding. Where is he hiding? Asked the BFG. Well, we'll come to that later, Sophie said. So the Queen dreams her dream, right? Right, the BFG said. Then she wakes up and the first thing she thinks is, oh, what a horrid dream! I'm so glad it was only a dream. And then she looks up from her pillow and what does she see? What does she see? The BFG asked. She sees a little girl called Sophie sitting on her windowsill right there in real life before her very eyes. How is you going to be sitting on the Queen's windowsill, may I beg? The BFG said. You are going to put me there, Sophie said, and that's the lovely part about it. If someone dreams that there is a little girl sitting on her windowsill and then she wakes up and sees that little girl is really sitting there, that is a dream come true, is it not? I is beginning to see where you is driving to, the BFG said. If the Queen is knowing that part of her dream is true, then perhaps she is believing the rest of it is true as well. That's about it, Sophie said, but I shall have to convince her of that myself. You said you was wanting the dream to say there is a big friendly giant who is also going to talk to the Queen. Absolutely, Sophie said. You must. You're the only one who can tell her where to find the other giants. How is I meeting the Queen? Asked the BFG. I is not wanting to be shooted at by her soldiers. The soldiers are only in the front of the palace, Sophie said. At the back there is a huge garden and there's no soldiers there at all. There is a very high wall with spikes on it around the garden to stop people climbing in, but you could simply walk over that. How is you knowing all this about the Queen's palace? The BFG asked. Last year I was in a different orphanage, Sophie said. I was in London and we used to go for walks all around there. Is you helping me to find this palace? The BFG asked. I has never dared to go hiding sneaking around London in my life. I'll show you the way, Sophie said confidently. I is frightened of London, the BFG said. Don't be, Sophie said. It's full of tiny dark streets and there are a few people about in the witching hour. The BFG picked Sophie up between one finger and a thumb and placed her gently on the palm of the other hand. Is the Queen's palace very big? He asked. Huge, Sophie said. Then how was we finding the right bedroom? That's up to you, Sophie said. You're supposed to be an expert at that sort of thing. And you is absolutely sure the Queen will not put me in a zoo with all the caterpillars? Of course she won't, Sophie said. You'll be a hero, and you'll never have to eat snozcumbers again. Sophie saw the BFG's eyes widen. He licked his lips, and we're going to stop there. My third question. The BFG's eyes widen, and he licks his lips. Why? It's a 2-mark question. I want you to give your point and your evidence. I want you to have a little think, say your answer out loud, then make a note of your ideas on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. The BFG's eyes widen and he licks his lips. Why? Press pause now. Okay, great, you're back. And here's what I put. I said, I think the BFG widens his eyes and licks his lips because he's thrilled with the thought of never having to eat snozcumbers again. I think this because Sophie tells him he'll never have to eat them again, and we know that they taste disgusting. Is that similar to what you put? Okay, I'm going to read to the end of our chapter. You mean it? He said. You really mean it? No more disgustive snozcumbers? You couldn't get one if you wanted to, Sophie said. Humans don't grow them. That did it. The BFG got to his feet. When is you wanting me to mix a special dream? He asked. Now, Sophie said. At once. When is we going to see the Queen? He said. Tonight, Sophie said, as soon as you've mixed the dream. Tonight? The BFG cried. What a flush-blunking flurry! If we can't save tonight's children, we can anyway save tomorrow's, Sophie said. What is more, I'm getting famished. I haven't had a thing to eat for 24 hours. Then we had better get crackling, the BFG said, moving back towards the cave. Sophie kissed him on the tip of his thumb. I knew you'd do it, she said. Come on, let's hurry. And we've got a question for the end of our chapter. I've said, why does Sophie want to carry the plan out as soon as possible? And it's a 2-mark question. I want you to have a little think, say your answer out loud, then make a note of it on your piece of paper or in your home learning book. Why does Sophie want to carry the plan out as soon as possible? Press pause now. Okay, great, you're back. And here's what I wrote. I said, I think that Sophie wants to carry the plan out the plan as soon as possible because she wants to stop the giants before they eat too many children. And I think this because she tells the BFG, if we can't save tonight's children, we can save tomorrow's. Is that similar to what you put? Well done. Okay, so we have come to the end of today's lesson. Well done for joining in. On your piece of paper or in your home learning book, you could make a prediction about what you think will happen next in our story. Do you think that Sophie and the BFG are going to save the English children from being eaten up by the horrible giants? Okay, well done, everybody. Look forward to continuing with you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.